I first discovered Holme Fen on a business trip as I was traveling from Leeds back to Huntingdon on the train. I was looking to the east out over the English landscape, and as I came past Peterborough and was approached Huntingdon, I looked out and I saw this marvelous birch forest that I had never known existed. All of it flashed by in a few seconds, and I was intrigued by the discovery, and that it was very close to home, and I was surprised that I didn't know about it, for I had lived in the area for about 8 or 10 years. A few weeks later I drove out to Holme Fen, and I explored this wonderful birch woodland for the first time. It's only a few hundred acres in size. It sits in the Fens. Now the Fens was a vast marshland in East Anglia that was drained in the 17th century and turned into farmland. Holme Fen is in an area of the Fens that was one of the last areas to be drained, and as such, it never really took to the agriculture that surrounds the area. There were a lot of efforts to augment the peat soil, but it never really took hold, and I suppose what eventually happened was that this birch forest moved in on top of all of this new land. One of the characteristics of the area is that as they drained the fens, the soil subsided and compacted, and today it's probably 20 or 30 feet below where it was historically. Indeed, the area of Holme Fen is actually below sea level. This area is characterized by roads that are never flat, and they're always changing, and the ground is always subsiding and shrinking. The soil is a soft peat that springs underfoot and is rarely muddy. Holme Fen, for me, is perhaps one of the most magical places I've been. I've spent a lot of time there walking and photographing, and I have to say that there have been a number of times that it is truly like a fantasy. One particular instance, we were hiking with some friends. It was in the springtime, I suppose, and this little freshet of rain blew up. The sun was setting, and there was this kind of dazzling dance of droplets of water upon us, driven by a brisk wind. It was invigorating and refreshing. The sun dipped below the clouds on the horizon, and as it lit up this freshet of rain that we were walking through, the warm light created a rainbow that we were actually in the midst of. The rainbow was projected against these stark white silver birch, but the light of the rainbow was between us and between the trees, and between us and the trees. The whole volume of air around us was suffused by this prismatic spectacle. It was a singular sensation. All the senses were involved. The cool, fresh dance of the rain on the skin with the brisk breeze, and to take in that wonderful light that I've never experienced before in my life. The sound of the droplets on the leaves, the totality was a sensation that would be hard to replicate. The only way that I could describe it is to say that we were transported to another realm. My recollection is that we were all silent as we were walking, and I think everybody experienced it in their own way. And it was for me this moment of sublime awe. Another time, in completely different conditions, in the middle of winter, a cold fog had blown in off of the Wash, and I was out photographing because Holme Fen is a special place in the fog. I was there very early in the morning, and it was a strange fog. The fog seemed to shift and change, although it was very still and quiet. I was taking some black and white photographs with my 4x5 large format camera of an oak tree that overhangs the path. I had finished, and as I walked underneath the tree, some of the last lingering leaves from fall just dropped, as if for no reason. They dropped, and they rained about me as a kind of benediction. I felt at the time it was some strange acknowledgment of my presence, and I suppose that some rationalists would say that there must have been some breeze high up at the top of the tree that had shaken these leaves loose. But it felt to me that I was present in what was some kind of a spontaneous celebration of being there. And those are the kinds of things that I can come to expect when I visit Holme Fen. And even at its most mundane, it is still a uniquely beautiful place.